Okay, this is the FOMO meetup.
Yes, for everyone
Will
else
you
who's
say
not
what
here,
FOMO is?
yes, it's the fear of missing out. And if you're not here, you might be experiencing FOMO already. But we recorded it so you could have less FOMO, potentially. So,
Oh, it's as fate would have it, I also have to move because of
okay.
a power situation, but it's gonna work out.
So
Just mute
while you're
myself for a second.
moving, I wanna bring in the question that sort of prompted this exploration space, which was actually, yeah, it was what you brought up just before, how there's all of these groups that are happening in the possibility management game world, whether it's rage clubs or skill up trainings or, possibility teams, research groups. And and there's so often that I have the sensation that I want to join because I sort of, some part of me is left behind, some piece of me that was always driven by this desire to fix myself. And now I hit another layer. And this layer is like, without trying to fix myself, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to miss out. Like all these, women, for example, that I love are going to go on an amazing journey together. And I'm not going to have the intimacy that they have. I'm not going to have the discoveries that they have. I'm not going to be in the space and know what's happening with them. You're on mute.
Will you talk about which group you're talking about right now? Just be really
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah, I mean there's so many, but the one
Okay.
that's particularly there's all the rage clubs that you and Sonia and Meredith are holding this week. I didn't sign up for any of them. But I keep being like, what about him? What about him? What about him? And I just and it's clear to me that I just don't have a clear yes to being in a rage club right now. And at the same time, it's like, oh, but like they're all going to be there together. And then there's this space about the this women's like arc and sexuality exploration that Meredith and Vera are holding soon. And I'm like, I want to be with the women. I don't want to be missing out. I don't want to be on the outside of this group of women who are going to cultivate all of this deep intimacy together and have, distinctions together, etc. And and then and then it's like I'm going to be on the outside. I feel this all of this emotional fear of being on the outside of something. And there's also, it's coupled with this sensation of being left behind. I'm scared about being left behind. Like there's a competition, which I also shared with you, Beth, the other day. Like this thing of, like everyone's gonna move ahead. They're gonna have this clarity. They're gonna have these distinctions. They're all gonna be in the know about something, and I
Mm.
will not. And then I'm on the outside. So
Yes.
yeah,
And
go.
the in the know thing, I brought that too when I accidentally gossiped, which I'm not going to, well, I don't want to say accidentally. I'm just going to say I gossiped. And I'm not going to say what it is because that would just be perpetuating it. But it was like you told me something, I told you like this little tidbit of information I had about it. And then later I came back and apologized and asked that you not spread the gossip. And I noticed that my gremlin, I was like, what is my gremlin eating really when it's gossiping? Because I've for the most part like cut cold turkey off of talking about other people.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to be talking about other people in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was like a little tidbit of just like I I wanted you to know that I was in the know about something.
Mm.
It was like
So that,
maybe not even so subtle.
so that.
Yeah, it's a superiority thing. It's like the flip side of some of the things you were just bringing.
Mm.
Um, it's in a way it would be proving that I'm not being left behind
Mm.
or something. This is what's coming through right now. So it's
Mm.
still connected to this which I now believe is connected to scarcity, this fear of of missing out, as we call it. And so gossiping for me in that moment was me proving that I am in the know, that I had some information, someone spoke to me that didn't speak to you, or something like this. It's so juvenile in a way. Well, I'm judging it, but yeah, I just noticed it the other day. So even that, this like superiority. And so if there's two sides of the game, it's like there's the, how do I, well, this is really the question we are going to bring to the Rage Club, but like, how do I connect to my no's and my yeses if I'm functioning on this level of scarcity and emotional fear? And you said something that you started talking about the women's archaeological sexuality group, and you were like, I want to be with the women. They're going to be coming up with all these distinctions or innovations or whatever. It's like, I don't want to. And so how do you make a decision? Like, to me, that just sounds like you want to do it. What do you, is it like the topic? You're like, the topic's not something I'm super stoked about, but I would want to be with those women. Well, how do you even know which women are there? Like,
I don't. I aside from the space holders.
Yeah.
And well, okay, I have one other thing I want to come back to, but I'll go with your question first, which is, it sounds like I want to do it, and it's like, I feel fear that my motivation to do something is fear driven. Instead of, it's like that there's like a running towards, it's like an avoiding. So instead of running towards, like, I'm turned on about this topic and I'm turned on about exploring it with these people, it's like, oh God, like, make sure you're inside, make sure you're on the inside, and like that that somehow controlling, so that way I'm like, these women, it's like almost, yeah, jealousy or competition. Also, they feel really connected, like, of, what if they're closer than I am? And it's not necessarily even about one woman in particular, but it's like, it actually, wow, it's bringing me back a lot to high school and this sort of big social, I would say, my big like life trauma that I would say I've had at the end of high school, where I was in a small girls' school, and I was basically like ostracized from the women, and I lost all my friends, and I was like so on the outside, and I'm petrified of being. I'm so scared of being on the outside. And so when you say it sounds like I just want to do it, it's like, I do want to do it, but what is like the motivation to do it? And it's like, I want to be with the people consciously because I love them. And I noticed that it's also like, there's like, what will I discover? This kind of new space for me. Like, it's like to discover it with women, like that is intriguing to me. I'm not necessarily like the most turned on about it ever, but I'm like, what else could I learn there? That sounds really interesting. And then this other part of, like, I even felt it about the spaces, when you already had that first like women's sexuality journey. I felt a lot of FOMO about that after I decided not to join. And I don't know what to call it, because it's like somehow my assumption is that competition is with like one other person, and it's like this sensation of like competing for closeness, like with everybody. And
closeness with everybody, I hear that. But is it some sort of also positionality within the whole context?
Yes, so that's the other thing I wanted to bring up, which was power games. Like, there's a sense that I get about, like, there's these power games and hierarchy. Because when I heard you saying these things about, what were you saying? About like you like gossiping to prove that you're in the know. And then me being scared about not being in the know. And all of that is, to me, I have the sensation of like power games, like sort of positioning, as you say. And it's like somehow like my story is that anything that's desirable somehow has like a little bit, and this is very scarcity and modern culture mindset, anything that's desirable, you know, is scarce, like diamonds or the elite club to be a part of. And so there's something like a protectiveness and almost perpetuating some stories, some culture about it, that it's like, oh yeah, are you in? Are you in? Are you in? And then the people on the outside are like, I want to get in. I want to get in. How do I get in? I'm missing out. And it's somehow like in a world where everything is not just blindly inclusive and there is some guardianship of context, like how do I kind of create a culture that's not the scarcity of like, you're only in if you make it, if you made it, if you're good enough to be in, but not just dilute it and not have it be some really modern culture, like, yeah, like status thing. It's like a status thing.
Yeah. Okay. So status is another aspect of it.
Yeah.
Status is like status slash positionality in the context.
Mm-hmm.
Competing for closeness. That one really a little like goes off of like, ooh, I'd like to dive more
Go,
into that.
go.
Um, be, because it's so backwards. Like it's so
Mm.
we could ask the questions, what creates closeness? And we could, so it's like on a mental level, I know that I could know that competition does not create closeness.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that it's wired that that would be a thing that could compete against other women to get closer to people?
And what do you get? Because you said it was like striking some chord in you. So will you maybe
Yeah, I'm gonna journey through time of, has something like that ever worked? And
how does it go for you?
getting,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
getting images of soccer, how like, okay, one image I'm getting is that like the players that were kind of the best on the team would all hang out. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would be like a thing. Like I would be aware of the ranking of who was the best players,
Mm.
and maybe at times actively seek to connect
Mm-hmm.
with them, or be aware that people were trying to connect with me because I was, and
Mm.
just kind of watching that play out from both sides. And I feel sad right now because there's no guidance about any of this stuff when we're younger. And so I remember just believing that this is how it goes.
Mm.
And I quickly in high school kind of got, I mean, yeah, just like scanning for popularity, who's getting the most attention from boys at the time,
Mm-hmm.
who was dating who, and just always really scanning. And I'm sensing that is one of the things, and another aspect of this is that kind of this plays out in a person like me. And I think that I see that you and I have some similar things about this, but it's like I can say for myself, it plays out. I'm someone who, I'm scanning for this kind of thing. I go into a space and I'm scanning and I'm moving my energetic body out of myself, and I'm focusing on people outside of myself at times. And I really now have the felt distinction between doing that and not doing that. But I think that I would move between both my whole life. And so what am I scanning for? Physical appearance, how people are treated by teachers, or coaches. And it's so selfish. It's like, what can they do for me and my status?
Mm-hmm.
Or having my ego kind of puffed, my superiority puffed by someone wanting to choose me and be around me. And so that's been playing. I'm just looking at it, how it's been playing out. It plays out like that it played out like that in sports. It played out in that in like the cliques in high school, like you were saying. And what I get is just that no one's talking about any of this. No one's pointed it out. It's just like, this is how I was socialized.
Mm-hmm. And I have the sensation that like some part of it's very biological, like of wanting to know like who's the alpha? Who's the alpha? So that way if shit hits the fan, I'm safe or I'm taken care of, or who do I want on my team if I'm the alpha, who are the best players to set me the most up for success or survival or winning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could see a sense in, you might like, because like I think that happens for me absolutely. Like partners I've picked, um, how I, have gone about getting like leadership positions. Like I didn't actively necessarily want them, but it's just like somehow energetically like aligning myself with some core like leader people or like CEOs, whatever at the company, and just like putting a lot of attention on them, even when I'm in labs, for example, in spaces,
Mm-hmm.
I see how much of my attention really basically goes to the trainers, the biggest like threat to me, and then like the people that I care about the most, that I'm the closest with. And then there's a whole set of other people who are basically getting like barely any of my attention. Like they might as well be invisible. Sometimes it even feels
Mm-hmm.
like a burden to have to go spend time with them. Like I don't want to, because there's like other people I would rather be spending time with that can somehow feed one of my bodies
Mm-hmm.
or make me feel loved. Actually, wow. Yeah, I'm getting something like I'm giving my attention where I feel loved and I can feel loved. And part of the FOMO thing is like it's like a rejection. Like I'm not worthy of love. I'm not good enough to be in. I'm on the outside. So I'm gonna go focus my energy on all the places and people that I want to get love from.
Mm. But like, why? So why are there, what makes someone you want to get love from?
So that's the part that I think is not, this is like all hypothetical, that I think is not biological. And I actually think that's learned. And I think it's based on like trauma or like conditioning, which is like, I want to get love from someone because like they remind me of my mother and they know how to love me how my mother loved me. Or I fucking hated how my mother loved me. So I'm looking for someone who loves me in the opposite way of how she does it.
But it's all kind of teetering around like a wound or an unmet childhood need.
That's my story. That's my story is like is that yeah, it's like I want to get love. I want to be loved. It's like a core wound. Wait, literally just
And for
having this
me,
call with you in
it's
the middle of the street right now. Sorry, continue.
for
Go.
me, I would, because there's like that list of the six top childhood needs, and I can't remember them all right now. But
Yes.
you keep saying love, and that's one of them. Like love, which also is like attunement, I would say, and then significance, and that's one of my big wounds and unmet childhood needs. So I might be moving around a space to get from people the feeling of significance rather than like love. That's how it that's how it works for me. But
Yes.
when you were saying you put your attention on the trainers, yes, okay. And then you said the person who's the biggest threat. And so what's that? Who's that person and how do you know who that, like, what do you scan? What's the biggest threat?
So for me, the biggest threat, it really depends. Like I've had things that are the biggest threat to my relating space with my partner. One sec. So that's been one, and that's usually a woman. And then there's like a biggest threat that's also like, are you smarter than me? Like, are you more like if you are you just more you have more clarity than me, or you know, you get the distinctions more, you're more advanced somehow than me. And
Okay, so advanced.
yeah, and then there's something that's also about, yeah, like, are you, well, it's interesting because there's almost like a tipping point. For example, it's like if I sense that there's people who are already kind of just like on the inside, there's a part of me that like gives up. It's like, oh, they're so on the inside, I can just relax, I don't know, and there's nothing to do about it because like it's like they're on some inner rung and I'm just not on that inner rung. And so but it's like so clear and obvious that it's like, okay, they're not really a threat. It's like they're already there. They've already graduated. They've already crossed some threshold. There's like a resignation
Mhm.
in some way. Like I couldn't be as close as they are. So I just resign.
Resignation.
Mm-hmm. And what are you smiling about?
I love this topic. I think it's so interesting. The threat of having to your partnership relating space. I get that one. The I wonder about the advanced one. I'm just considering all the things you just said and if it works for me in a different way
Mm-hmm.
on the inside.
Hmm.
Yeah. The inner rung resignation thing is I feel like that's interesting because it's like, oh well, there's just so much hierarchy in it blatantly.
Totally. And there's some,
It's such patriarchal bullshit. It's it's hierarchy.
and I also realize there's something that's really about possessiveness. It's like they will take something away from me. They'll take my rank away from me. They will threaten my status.
Yeah.
Like I notice, for example, it happens with like it's happened with so many people, like you, Jeffrey, who else? Zhenya, uh Nicole, Bradford, like I'm just like checking, there's just so many people where it's like I have the sensation of like, oh fuck, they just said something so clear and like everyone heard it. And like, what about me?
Okay, wow. So they say something clear. Everyone heard it. What about me? So someone's clarity might not land in you like clarity. It lands like something to be scared about or
It's like a mix. Like I can really
yeah.
appreciate the clarity. I'm like when
Yeah.
like for each of you, like I've had the experience of that. All of you have said something at some point, not necessarily just once, but you've all said something at some point where it's like I'm hit with the clarity. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how did they just, it's like landing in me. It's like working in my being. And I have this sense of wonder and awe, like, wow, like that was
Mhm.
holy shit, so cool. This is like, I'm feeling a lot of joy. And then, and then sometimes, not necessarily all the times, but I would venture to say probably more often than not, if not most of the time, there's some part that also is like, who else saw that? Like, did they see that this
Mhm.
person's like being so clear and like, that they're more
Mhm.
clear than me, and it's really this comparison thing. And I'm getting this thing about FOMO, this fear of missing out. It's like it's so tied to so many things. It's like competition, comparison, jealousy,
Mhm.
um possession, like status, hierarchy, and I don't know, it just feels like such a tangled web.
Yes, and what also is coming, what I'm considering is that fear of FOMO is like a modern culture catchphrase. Like it's like a thing people say, I have FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, yes, we talked about how there's all these emotional fears that are leading to competition. Like the emotional fear would be, I'm going to be left behind. I won't have friends. I'll be alone. Like these kinds of things. So there is this crest of emotional fear.
Mm-hmm.
And how could FOMO, fear of missing out, like be on the new map of fear, where like the fear of missing out is not like it's not bad or wrong. It's one of the it's one of the things that goes, you might want to do this, or like it's not. This was coming through. Oh, hi.
You want to
Are you
make
sharing your screen?
you want to make the old map a new map of FOMO?
You do.
No, we could explore it together and try drawing it out.
Yeah, yeah. Are you drawing it right now?
Not right now. I think we can both draw in here. Are you able to draw also?
Really?
I think so.
Okay. Wow.
Is it working?
I don't know yet. I'm just reading about the. I can just draw. Oh yeah, look.
FOMO. There you go.
How do I erase it?
That's a good question. This looks like the eraser. But
Oh my
okay.
goodness, I'm seeing something. Look at. Let's just play for a little bit. This won't be necessarily the new map, but of missing out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the meme that something could happen that's meant for you that you wouldn't have access to, and that's just total bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I don't know why it's not.
And there's also something of like missing out. It's like something outside of you. And I was actually remembering this thing about like being your own center of gravity and like you being the center.
Yes, will you
Like,
add that to here somewhere? Just for it, let's just take note.
yeah, okay.
Something happened. I don't know why it won't really let me type.
I don't know about that either. Actually, I experienced this one other time. I didn't realize that they were having difficulty typing, but this makes sense now that you're saying it out loud. That's what was happening for them.
It's like it doesn't play by the same rules as the keyboard.
It was very weird. I don't know what.
Something could happen that is meant for me, and I might not get it.
Yeah, and then also being your own center of gravity. And I'm getting something like like there's a circle. And it's like you're on the inside. How do I just make like a dot? Yeah. So like this hypothetically could be you on the inside, like you being the center of gravity. But then it's like there's all these other circles on the outside that are happening at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't exactly know where I'm going with this, but it's like somehow they're reaching for the things like, oh, I want to overlap with this center, and I also want to overlap with this one. And
Mm-hmm.
and then there's these other ones that I'm not, but and then something like my center gets like warped. Like it's getting weird because it's like pulled in these other directions and it's like it's actually hollow or something.
I was gonna say pulling, it has this like that pulling towards. as opposed to being
Actually, oh,
a radiant magnet or something.
well, yeah. And what I'm actually getting is that there is actually in this scenario, like no real center. I don't have a center because my center is just looking out at all these other circles, or it's at the point where I'm intersecting with them. But then
Yeah.
what would be happening in the center of gravity is actually that I would have a little center happening.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, it would be like, actually, maybe it would be more like this. I don't know. Looks like Mickey Mouse. You are Mickey Mouse when you're centered. That's the moral of the story. Where it's like I'm in my center and then like at my edges, like I interact with things. Actually, they wouldn't even be overlapping. It would just be versus there's no center and it's totally diluted.
Yeah. I wrote not centered, giving the center way, others and other things basically are defining my center for me.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about that?
Belonging, it comes back to belonging.
Mm-hmm.
I like belonging. I decide what I need and go for it. I
Fear of missing out.
this is so fun.
It is fun.
Both of us just
We're
got really into the map. I'm like,
we're making a new
am I
map. I
still
love
with
it.
you? Am I still with you? I
Yes,
am.
I feel you. So this fear, it's like all this fear is happening where it's like there's no center and all this like I'm getting the sense of like turbulence happening and it's like it's just like my fear is what's like the touch point. It's like my motivation to go be in contact with these other people, game worlds, what have you. Like I don't even
Emotional fear.
yeah, and there's yeah. And then this is like it's like I have my center, I have my personal bubble of space, and I touch other things from when I'm centered, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But the FOMO is like the fear of missing out. So what, yeah, will you say more about the thing that's meant for me and I might not get it?
Yeah, that's the of missing out. It has like a meme in it. I mean, it's a modern culture statement that has this meme that you could miss out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, yes, things happen that are super magical. And if I'm not there, my sadness has information for me then. Like I feel sad about it. I feel sad and of but even that's an emotion. If it's like emotional sadness that I missed something that looked so beautiful and I wasn't there.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe it gives me more information about where I want to be. It's like finding the X on the map. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with the fear of missing out. it's just a very particular X. It's like you're still in scarcity mindset, thinking that something could happen that's meant for you and you wouldn't get it. Other people are getting it. Other people are, it's victimhood, has victimhood, as opposed to belonging, deciding what you need and going for it, and that I belong wherever I decide. And the jealousy would come after it. It would come like, I noticed that it would be like I decide not to do something and then someone else decides to, and then I might see how it's going for them and then I'm jealous, you know. So it's such low drama because the whole thing's setting me up as if I'm not taking a stand for like that I would even know what I want to do or not do.
Yes.
And then I'm like coming back to then what if checking out the emotional crust fear, you do a process and you check it out, and what happens if you sign up for something because of the fear of missing out? I don't know. That's an exploration.
Yes, and I'm getting some other distinctions that are landing for me about this map, which is like this is, it's like the center, your gravitational pull is really small when there's a fear of missing out and your edges are not well defined. It's like you lack clarity, and participation and everything else is like gravitating towards other things that feel like you have the story that they're like bigger than you. And they're just like all random things like outside of yourself. And so you're like diluted, lack of clear boundaries, and it's just this like shaky fear crust, basically. And it's diluted is the word that really keeps coming, where you're going to all these other things that feel much more, they have the gravity.
Yeah, I love this gravity discussion.
Yes, me too. Well, yeah, so I think. And so it's like actually, and going towards all different colors and all different, it's like kind of grasping for, whatever's available. Whereas these ones here, it's like somehow like I'm radiating outwards, and all of these things are like drawn to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing it, but I don't know. I was getting something like, yeah, in this group, it's like I'm just, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, I'm just looking for love. I'm just looking to belong. I'm just looking for, whatever. And this one where it's like, when I'm not FOMOing, when I'm not in the fear of missing out, it's like, I am the center of the world. Like not the center of the world, but it's like, what did I write? Or you being your own center of gravity? Yeah, this thing. Can I make this smaller?
Yes.
It's like something like that.
Will you put it over to the right of it though?
Yes.
It shouldn't be that small because it's so important.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So it's like this, and I'll make it bigger. So So it's like you radiate out and you go out, but you still have like clearly defined, I don't know, edges. And then things are drawn to you, like you're giving and then you're receiving from the outside in. But then this one, yeah, I don't know. It's something. I'm having too much fun with
Yes.
the map right now.
Me too. Oh, whoa. I'm just gonna add victimhood.
And actually, you could be with something as big as you are or bigger than you are, and you still are not feeling FOMO. It's like it doesn't even matter.
Right.
Because it's like I still am the center of my own gravity. And so I might be gravitating towards other things, and other things are still gravitating towards me, and I still have my center. Little does anyone know who is watching this video what you've gotten yourself into. It's called chaos art.
Chaos map making.
Chaos
Wait, but when
mapping.
you just zoomed in, you just zoomed out, and then I was in the middle of typing something. So as soon as you're done, will you just go back to so I can keep typing?
Yes. Oh, sorry, you can't see it?
No,
Oh, funny.
because you're sharing your. I don't know. Maybe I could. I
Okay, cool.
can see what you share here.
Okay. So it's like, yeah. Sorry. Okay. No. Damn. Okay, I want to keep zooming in and out, but I will stop doing that.
I love it. Fear of missing out. What else do we say? Okay. Oh, and it's like, okay, so what in each side of this map, what are you motivated? Oh, see all of this motivated. Okay, I feel like I should take this and move it because it's got to be on the right side of the map.
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to move it over?
Yeah, can you move the low drama with self and others? There's two different boxes. Oh, great. Okay, thanks.
I'm going to put on also on jealousy on here. Jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And did you put, I'm going to put jealousy.
Is there an eraser?
Yes. Under
Where is it?
the second button down from the top options on the menu.
This thing? Oh, this thing. Okay. I want to erase the.
Oh, I kind of like the FOMO.
No, no, I like the FOMO. I just
The dots.
didn't like the little weird dots. Yeah.
It's got to be pretty bad.
Okay, so motivation. Okay, I have an idea. Like it goes like here. It's gonna be, I'm gonna write motivation. Oh, I don't know. I'm not so skilled with this, buddy. I'm trying. Will you write motivation in the middle, like right here? Where I just made the line. Oh, I can do it with my handwriting.
You want me to do it though or no?
Sure.
Something could
Oh.
happen that is meant for me and I might not get it.
What's the motivation on the other side?
The motivation for being the center of your own gravity. Belonging. I decide what I need and I go for it. I belong wherever I decide to. Yeah, and there's also something about it's like I source, like I am the source. It's sourcing. Sourcing is a motivation. Put that. Okay. Here. Sourcing.
Right.
Creating. creation, collaboration.
Yeah. It's like all the bright principles.
Yeah. And there is something about like, I don't know, like boundaries, I mean, there's something about like self-worth, and I know that's not a bright principle.
Guardianship?
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, guardianship. Like this thing matters, and like fueling something, like I get this fire, yeah, like putting fuel into a fire. There's like a, like concentrating a lot of attention and energy on something, which is sort of like this
Mm-hmm.
creation thing, I guess.
Can you get rid of this arrow that I just starred? It's not
Guardianship.
meant to be there.
It's so cute though. You don't want
I don't know where it's.
to. I love
No,
it.
because it's
Oh, the
pointing
arrow or
towards
the star? The arrow.
the arrow.
Like that?
Thanks. Yeah, star's fine. I don't know how it got there, but great. And then motivation. Okay, wait, I think I can do it.
There's something about, I think instead of self-worth, I'll just put like love. It's just like, you know, love is happening.
Yeah, I'm like over the word worthy. I'm wanting it to not even exist.
So I'm gonna put on here is like sort of like bright principles.
Mm-hmm.
Did we just
Oh, being with. Add being with.
Mhm.
Okay. And will you write scarcity? I think could go, let's see. I could even write it.
Okay. Also, this add text. Do you want something with that add text thing?
Oh, that's very messy.
Delete it. Okay.
No, get rid of it.
Yeah, so like this one I'm small, and this one is like you're the own center, and yeah, and being the source, being the source of the most interesting
oh
place
yeah.
I want to be in my life. And actually there's something about like having the authority to create my life exactly as I want it.
Mm-hmm. Can you get rid of this thing right here? I
Yeah.
won't, I'm trying to erase it, but I don't know. Okay. Motivation. Will you move motivation over so it's central?
Yeah.
Yeah, move that so it's not perfect.
I like the quirky lines though.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so what do we got here? The fear and FOMO is an emotional crusty fear. It's the belief that something could happen that is meant for me and I might not get it. So scarcity needs to be written on here. I'm uh maybe right here. Whoops. Okay, so yes, can you put like, this is what I'm seeing and I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it.
Scarcity.
Yeah, like scarcity over here and possibility over here.
Scarcity.
And love, I have a call in 3 minutes.
Great. So we're wrapping it up.
Cool.
More than one
Okay, so
it's ironic. Okay. And possibility.
yeah. Possibility.
Help me. Not you, but possibility. Jesus. Come on. Come on.
Choices.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, possibility. Scarcity is so tiny. That's great.
And I share it. Is it working?
All right, love. This is so fun.
I agree.
Okay, will you come back to the screen and you're gonna save this thing, this
Yeah.
map?
I feel fear about actually how to do that. Well, it looks like it's saved here already in my.
I just screenshotted it, so if worse comes to worse.
Same. Okay, I think it's somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna copy link. Okay. I hope it saves. All right, I'm gonna close the whiteboard now.
Okay. I gotta go sign on to the something